Crested Kids. I'm Miss Achan. I'm so happy that you could make it today for our social studies session. Over the last few weeks, we have been learning about the different types of minerals found in East Africa. We have already studied oil, diamonds, and today we are going to look at copper. Copper is one of the world's most important minerals. Copper is a metal. There are lots of different metals in the world, but today we are going to talk about the metal copper. The word copper comes from the language spoken by the Romans called Latin. The Latin word was Cyprum Ais, which means from the island of Cyprus. Cyprus is here on my world map. The Romans came from here, Rome in Italy, over 200 years ago. They had an empire that stretched so far. They used a lot of copper which they got from Cyprus, and that is why we use the name copper today. Do you know what the Romans used the copper for? They used it to make coins, doors, plumbing, and a lot of things. Copper is a popular metal because it is a good conductor of heat and electricity. What does that mean? A good conductor for electricity means there is very little resistance when electricity moves through it, so it can move through really easily. This means it can be very useful to make wires, like this one, using copper. You can't see it, but it's inside. It can also be used to make mobile phones, television, microchips, lightning rods. In fact, it is used to make so many things. Now, I have a toy car here. As you can see, it's made of plastic. So you may wonder, what has this got to do with copper? Well, copper has been used to help make cars throughout history. Nowadays, it is becoming even more valuable because it is an important component of electric cars. Have you heard of electric cars before? These are cars that are run by electricity. So that simply means you don't need to put petrol in them. Remember when we studied oil? We learned that oil made petrol. The problem with petrol is that it is damaging our environment, and it is a very strong pollutant. This means it is putting things into the air that makes it so hard for us to breathe in clean air. And it is also causing a lot of harm to our environment. If we all were to use electric cars, it would make our environment and our air much cleaner. So that's why many countries around the world are making laws to stop using petrol cars and instead use electric cars. Copper is used to make electric cars. As more people are using electric cars, the cost of copper is increasing. This is why we are wanting to start extracting copper again here home in Uganda. Like oil and diamonds, copper is non-renewable, which means once we have used it, we cannot replace it. It is used up. So, where is copper found in Africa? No worries. The largest copper mines in Africa are found in Zambia, which is here, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. These two places are sometimes called the Copper Belt of Africa. But what about in East Africa, where our country is found? We have copper reserves, although there is currently no mining. In Uganda, to be specific, we used to have copper mines in Kasese. This is where we find Kasese, at a place called the Kilembe Mines in western Uganda. But during Idi Amin's time, we all know Idi Amin, the mines stopped. Idi Amin was our president 40 years ago. Do you know anyone who is 40 years old? Well, that means that when they were born, in Uganda, we were mining copper. The mines in Uganda have not started again since they stopped. They belong to the government of Uganda, but we want to start them again because copper is very valuable. The government is looking for foreign investors to provide money to bring the mines back to life and make them operational. When these mines were working in Uganda, do you know how they would operate them? They would drill down and use explosives to open up the rock, and people would go down with axes and chip away at the copper ore and split it open, and then they would extract it out. This work was very dangerous. If we got investments to reopen the mine, we would use machinery which would be more safer. After they had mined the copper ore in Kasese, do you know what they did with it? Simple. They would put them in a train and put them on the railway line and send it to Jinja. Here is Jinja. So the copper ore traveled all the way from Kasese to Jinja by railway. In Jinja, they turned it into something called copper cathode. Jinja was the only place in those days where we had electric power. So this is why the factory was put there. They then were able to sell this and ship it from Jinja all around the world. If we get foreign investors to provide money, we would revive the whole industry. We would even get the railway working again. Remember the railway? The one that starts from Kasese. In Uganda, we have copper deposits in Karamoja, which is found in the northeastern part of the country. These have been quantified, which means we know how much is there. However, we have never mined them or extracted any copper. In Kenya and Tanzania, which are countries found in East Africa, we can find some copper reserves. However, they have never been mined. What is currently happening in Tanzania is that some small groups of people are extracting something called copper ore, which they turn into concentrate. What this means is that they scoop it off the surface, then they crush the rock and remove the dirt. And then this makes the copper concentrate. This is then shipped all the way to China. Wow! Your task this week is to take photos of anything you can find made out of copper and post it on our Facebook page.